Talking Trees with Lily and Jad. Thank you for joining this week's recap of Talking Trees. Today we covered a broad spectrum of topics, from canopy research and ecosystem service valuation to arboricultural safety standards, non-invasive root system assessments, dynamic wind loading, and the impact of Kretschmeria dusta on tree stability. We trust these insights will contribute to a deeper understanding of tree physiology and inform better care practices. We look forward to sharing more updates with you next week.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. This week, we're doing things a little different.
Great.
We are going to do a deep dive into last week's Talking Trees episodes.
Interesting.
All 6 of them, to give you the highlights.
Okay.
We know you guys are busy out there climbing, pruning, keeping the urban forest healthy. So we want to make this efficient A and D insightful.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so first up, Monday's episode
Yeah.
got us thinking about the eco-benefits and, surprisingly, the disservices of trees in urban landscapes.
Right. We often focus on all the positives that trees bring.
Yeah.
But it's really important for arborists, folks like you out in the field, to really understand the complete picture. Trees can pose some challenges, especially when we're planning and managing urban forests.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Absolutely.
Which is where Tuesday's episode on safety and tree climbing comes in.
Yeah, this one hit close to home. Literally, arboriculture has a higher than average mortality rate. And that just highlights how crucial those safety standards really are.
That episode really emphasized why we need to be so vigilant. We looked at New Zealand's incredibly detailed code of practice.
Oh, wow.
As well as common safety themes across 29 different countries.
Yeah.
But what really struck me was the focus on the why behind safety measures.
For sure. The statistics on accidents and near misses really drive home the importance of training and following those procedures every time.
Yeah. All right. Now, shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
Wednesday's episode dove into the world of wound dressings. You know how we help trees heal after pruning or damage?
Right. The big takeaway there was that different tree species react differently to wound treatments. And even the timing of pruning can influence healing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like research showed that maple trees heal differently depending on when you prune them.
Interesting. One study even challenged the effectiveness of wound dressings altogether. They found that over 13 years, no tested dressing could fully prevent rot.
So it sounds like the focus should be on preventing those large wounds in the first place.
Yeah, seems like it. Okay, so Thursday's episode was all about getting techie.
Okay, I like techie.
Seeing underground without digging.
Cool.
We explored root-penetrating radar and other non-invasive methods for studying root systems.
That's fascinating how technology is changing how we assess trees, things like ground-penetrating radar or GPR. It allows us to actually map out root systems and identify potential conflicts with underground utilities.
There are a bunch of acronyms thrown around.
I know, right?
E or I.
Yeah.
E-I-M-S-T.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
It can be a bit overwhelming, but...
I know. But ultimately, these tools provide really valuable insights, especially in urban environments where digging can be really disruptive.
Right. These methods help us understand what's happening beneath the surface without, causing unnecessary damage to the trees or the surrounding infrastructure.
Exactly.
Okay, and then Friday, we got to explore the dynamic world of, tree dynamics.
Right, tree dynamics.
Yeah. We looked at how trees respond to wind and the forces that can lead to damage.
One study actually measured the forces on trees during real storms.
Wow.
Can you imagine the data they were able to collect?
That's crazy.
It was amazing, and they used that data to create models that help us understand how to minimize swaying and prevent potential hazards.
And speaking of hazards, Saturday's episode introduced us to a fungal foe. You might encounter Kretschmeria dusta.
This fungus can be a real threat to the stability of older beech trees. The research we discussed highlighted how it spreads, how it degrades wood over time, and ultimately how it weakens the tree, making it more susceptible to failure.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the ecological benefits of trees to the very real threats they can face.
We sure have. This is just a glimpse of what we discussed on Talking Trees last week. We encourage you to check out the full episodes for a deeper dive into each of these topics. All right, so let's dig into some of those key insights and what they mean for you in the field.
Perfect.
Okay.
So let's start with those disservices of trees we mentioned earlier. What are some practical considerations arborists should keep in mind?
Well, we have to think beyond just planting trees. We need to consider the potential downsides, like, invasive species, root damage to infrastructure, and even public perception.
You're right. It's not always sunshine and clean air.
Exactly. Remember that study we talked about public perception? It really highlighted how important it is to involve the community in urban forestry planning.
Oh, yeah.
Addressing their concerns and explaining the benefits can make a huge difference in gaining support for our work.
That makes a lot of sense. So how can we as arborists better anticipate and address those concerns?
I think it starts with communication. We need to clearly explain the potential risks and benefits of trees to residents and property owners.
So being proactive rather than reactive.
Exactly. And when it comes to safety, we all know the risks involved in our work.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Talking Trees episodes really emphasize some crucial points.
What stood out to you? I think the emphasis on the why behind safety measures was really important.
Yeah.
It's not just about following the rules blindly. It's about understanding the reasoning behind them.
Absolutely.
That can make a big difference in terms of compliance and overall safety culture.
Totally. And those accident statistics are sobering reminders that even seemingly small oversights can have serious consequences.
The discussion about New Zealand's code of practice made me wonder, what are some examples of safety practices that might surprise arborists who are used to working in other parts of the world?
Well, New Zealand's code is incredibly detailed.
Oh, wow.
They have specific procedures for everything from harness inspection to chainsaw maintenance.
That level of detail seems almost excessive. But I guess when you're dealing with such a high-risk profession, every precaution matters.
Right. And while not every country has such stringent guidelines, there are some common themes across the board.
Yeah.
Things like clear communication, risk assessment, and ongoing training.
Yeah.
Those are universal principles of safe tree work.
Now let's talk about those surprising findings on wound dressings. I have to admit, I was a bit shocked to learn that they might not be as effective as we once thought.
It definitely challenges conventional wisdom. For years, we've been taught to apply dressings to protect wounds and promote healing.
Yeah.
But this long-term study suggests that those dressings might not be preventing rot as effectively as we believed.
So what does this mean for our approach to pruning and wound care?
I think it highlights the importance of proper pruning techniques.
Okay.
If we can minimize the size and severity of wounds in the first place, we'll reduce the need for dressings altogether.
The Hamburg pruning system, which we discussed in the episode, seems like a good example of this preventative approach.
Absolutely. That system focuses on making strategic cuts. That encourages the tree to compartmentalize decay naturally. It's all about working with the tree's own defense mechanisms.
It's fascinating how trees can isolate damaged areas and prevent decay from spreading.
They're incredibly resilient organisms. And speaking of resilience, those episodes about tree dynamics and stability were eye-opening.
I know. Learning about the forces that trees have to withstand, especially in urban environments, really puts things into perspective.
Those studies that measured forces on trees during actual storms were incredible. Imagine the data they were able to collect.
That's crazy.
It's amazing how they use that data to create models that help us understand tree movement and predict potential failures.
And it's not just about wind. We learned how factors like pruning leaf loss and even ice accumulation can impact a tree's stability.
It's a complex interplay of forces.
It is. As arborists, we have to be able to assess all of these factors when we're evaluating tree risk.
Right. We need to consider the tree's structure, its health, and its surrounding environment to make informed decisions about pruning, cabling, or even removal.
And that brings us to that fungal foe Kretschmeria diusta.
Right.
This one's a bit more specialized, but it highlights the importance of ongoing education in our field.
Absolutely. Kretschmeria diusta can cause serious damage to beech trees, compromising their structural integrity and making them more susceptible to failure.
The research we discussed really dug into how this fungus spreads, how it degrades wood, and ultimately how it weakens the tree.
Yeah.
It's crucial for arborists to be able to identify the signs of infection and understand the potential risks.
Early detection is key. If we can identify the problem early on, we have a better chance of managing the situation and potentially saving the tree.
This has been a great overview of those Talking Trees episodes. We've covered a lot of ground, from the importance of community engagement to the latest research on tree stability and fungal pathogens.
It's clear that arboriculture is a constantly evolving field, and staying up to date on the latest research and best practices is essential for providing the best possible care for our urban forests.
All right, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's shift gears one last time and consider the implications of climate change for our work.
Okay.
We talked about the eco-benefits of trees, but as the climate changes, right, those benefits become even more crucial, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Trees play such a vital role in mitigating the effects of climate change.
Yeah.
They absorb carbon dioxide, they help reduce the urban heat island effect, and they can help manage stormwater runoff. So as temperatures rise and we see more and more of those extreme weather events, those benefits are going to be even more important than ever.
So how can arborists adapt their practices to address these challenges?
Yeah.
What should we be thinking about now to prepare for the future?
Well, one thing is we need to be really mindful about tree selection. Choosing species that are well suited to the changing climate is going to be crucial. So we need to consider factors like drought tolerance, heat resistance, and resilience to pests and diseases.
So diversifying our urban forests to make them more resilient.
Exactly, and we'll need to pay even closer attention to tree health.
Okay.
Regular inspections, proper pruning. And early detection of pests and diseases will be essential for ensuring the longevity of our trees.
Those Talking Trees episodes on tree dynamics and stability seem particularly relevant in this context.
They do, don't they? Understanding how trees respond to wind and other stresses will be critical as we face more extreme weather events.
Yeah.
We'll need to be proactive in managing those risks,
Yeah.
assessing tree stability and making informed decisions about pruning, cabling, or even removal.
It sounds like arborists will need to become even more skilled in risk assessment and mitigation.
Absolutely, and we'll need to work closely with other professionals like urban planners and engineers to create more resilient urban landscapes. It's a collaborative effort.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of arboriculture.
It has.
From the science behind wound dressings to the challenges of climate change, we've covered a lot of ground.
There's always more to learn and explore in this field.
We hope this deep dive has been helpful for you, our fellow arborists. Remember to check out the full episodes of Talking Trees for even more insights.
Keep those saws sharp, stay safe out there, and keep those trees healthy.
Until next time, happy tree climbing.
Thank you for joining this week's recap. We reviewed canopy research, ecosystem service valuation, arboricultural safety standards, non-invasive root assessments, dynamic wind loading, and the impact of Kretschmeria dosta on tree stability. We hope these insights help enhance your understanding and practice in arboriculture. Stay tuned for next week's update